My name is Parker Rogers. I am the data community advocate for the Operational Analytics Club and Census, and I am here with Matthew Brandt, one of the data champions in the Operational Analytics Club. Before I ask you a few questions, Matthew, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. My name's Matthew. Commonly go by Maddie or Maddie Two Shoes. That's like my online handle. Speaking of online, I'm online quite a lot. I live stream twice a week on Twitch, promoting data analytics, trying to get people interested or make it a little bit more clear for people who are trying to get into the industry. I am generally pretty interested in tech. I've been in tech industry now for over 10 years. I started out in web analytics side, like a lot of people, I guess, and transitioned over to being more database heavy. And now I'm kind of all over the place. And although my job title today is data analyst, I like to call myself decision engineer, I would say, because I like to think that I help people make better decisions using data.
Yeah, I feel like someone could be a data analyst, but half their job is doing data engineering work. All the titles are a little, it's a mixture. You never know really what skill set someone does or doesn't have. So it's good to have some clarification. Next
Yeah.
question is, what is your favorite part of your job?
Honestly, it is the problem solving. I really enjoy the aspect of taking a problem or taking some kind of desire from the business that someone has, could be from us or it could be from another team, and breaking it down until we really understand all the little bits and intricacies and dependencies, and then finding out more about those individual parts, and then sort of figuring out how they fit together, and then ultimately guiding that towards some kind of decision, and then monitoring how that decision impacts the business. That's just the really fascinating thing about it for me.
Awesome. And next one, why do you think community is important to the data industry?
Community for me is more than just about people coming together with shared interests. For me, community is about exchange of knowledge, because I believe that education or knowledge exchange is the great equalizer of our generation. I think that that is what has the power to really change things for the planet, for people individually, is understanding different points of view, understanding different technologies, understanding different approaches. And that only happens through exchange with others. That can't happen by you being stuck in a bubble, only thinking for yourself. You need to be exposed to controversial opinions. Like I personally have a vendetta against right join. I think that a right join has no place in this world, and there needs to be, yeah, everyone kind of needs to have their own thing and their own agenda, but ultimately we need to come together and also breed a bit of consensus on things too. So that's the value in having community, is that exchange and that power of the collective knowledge.
And you talked about your favorite parts of your current job. What would you say is your least favorite part? Anything you can say, of course, that won't get you let go.
Seeing as I just started my job a month ago, I don't have so much to say specifically about this role that is bad. But in general, every role that I've been through, and it's more than likely to happen in this role as well, the most frustrating part of my job is getting people to trust in the data. Because very often data is not perfect. Data is produced by people for the large part of it, and people are not perfect. So people make mistakes, and therefore that is reflected in the data. And then people automatically assume, once they see one mistake in the data, they assume all of it is bad. And that is a real challenge in building that trust and keeping that trust up there, and then making people understand, okay, just because this one particular small little thing was not correct doesn't invalidate everything. And that is, it's extremely frustrating working with stakeholders when that happens. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And I have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
First one is, I saw like when I first learned about you through your Twitch stream, you called yourself a full stack data analyst. I think I know what that means, but I'd like a little bit more clarity for everybody else to hear it.
I started using the full stack data analyst term prior to sort of adopting this decision engineer term, which I've become familiar with within just the last few months. Full stack, I borrowed from the development world, where when you have a backend person and a front end person who can basically do both. So, someone who can develop server architecture, who can figure out how to make systems work in the background that people don't see, and people who work in the front end, designing the user interfaces that you see and making them actually work for the user. And I use that full stack approach in terms of analytics because, on the one hand, I am able to program, I'm able to code, I'm able to create things in the background that users never see or learn about or have to understand fully. But I'm also at the forefront of stakeholders asking, okay, what does this mean? How do you interpret this data? Can we make a visualization? Can we output this somehow? And I'm doing basically both sides of the story. And so I started using the term full stack analyst. It's not something I invented. It's actually something I saw from another person in the community, Frederick Werner, who started using it a few years back already. And I thought it was a pretty good term. But I've since moved away from that term a little bit more to decision engineer because I like to think in terms of outcomes. And I think that is the easiest way to explain to people what I do, much like I answered the question earlier about what I do, is I help engineer the best outcome using data. Of course, that involves other people too, but that's what I'm trying to do my part in.
Yeah, I really like that title. Um, I recently read a blog by David Jayatilake. I hope I got that last name right, where he talked about that. Where if a data professional, say an analyst, if their title speaks too much about their like technical capabilities, then that might take away from what outcomes they're driving. So instead of just being like a data analyst, maybe you're a pricing analyst or you're a decision engineer. And I just think that kind of shifts the focus of like what the purpose is, right? Like the technology is almost a means to an end and being like driving outcomes in the business. So I really like
Yeah,
that.
I don't think tech should ever be the end. I always think that tech is the means to the end. And we
But
could
yeah.
probably discuss for hours about how people get so uptight and so involved about, AI's role in data and all the other, modern data stacks role in data, but ultimately these are all just tools at our disposal, much like musicians many, many years ago didn't have electronic aids, and now musicians have electronic aids. It doesn't mean that musicians are being replaced by a machine. It means that
Hmm.
they have different tools at their disposal to have the creativity that they have outpour into a different format or a different methodology. And it's the same thing in our work, is our creativity and our ideas can now take shape in different ways. And I don't like that people harp in particular on certain technologies or certain tools and try to sort of slap those down saying these are bad for us. It's like, I don't know, it would be like a whole team or a union of like handy workers getting together and saying down with the hammer or something, because like the hammer is bad for their business, and that just, it seems wrong to me to do that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.